I've done that before, and all I can say is if you're holding on to something that doesn't give you a lot of opportunity, but it gives you a lot of security, if you're feeling this need to let go, but you're just a little scared, that's probably an indication that it's time to let go. I don't know that there's an exception to this. Anytime I've ever hired somebody, it's resulted in me making more money. Connect yourselves with important people and build everybody up around you. But that would be the number one thing that I think you could take.
Right.
Well, obviously, if you want to break out from the amount of money you're making or the amount of success you're having, however you define that, maybe you don't define that with money, then you're going to have to branch out, network with people that you do want to mirror, build them up.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I am so excited for our guest today. We have Michael Tobia. He's a huge entrepreneur in the entertainment industry. This guy puts on live music concerts. He does all the work, top to bottom, to get the stage ready, to get the artist. I'm going to start over, dude.
All right.
Top to bottom. It always goes better the second time anyway. This is going to be saucy.
No problem.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I am so excited to have our guest on today. This is Michael Tobia. He is an entrepreneur in the media space. He brings in live bands. He sets up concerts and he throws the most wild events you've ever seen. We're so excited to have him on here. He's headed to be one of the #1 guys in the industry. He's got so much experience in entrepreneurship, in brokering businesses, in so many different things. So I'm really excited to have him on. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Mike.
Guys, I'm so excited about this, but I'm going to give Michael a second to introduce himself. Michael, what's your name? What's your brand? What's your mission? Who are you, man?
Yeah, kind of a lot. So let me see if I can just kind of summarize this quick.
Sure.
So, of course, my name is Michael Tobia. I have a number of kind of irons in the fire. Mostly it's in the event space. So private events like conventions, weddings, corporate events, outdoor concerts, things like that. We do a lot of things in this space. We provide entertainment. Excuse me. We've got a company called Utah Live Bands, and we provide entertainment for corporate events and things like that all over the world, but primarily in Utah. And it's, if a big company is doing an event at the Salt Palace or something like that, and they want entertainment to, a band for the awards ceremony, or they want dancing at the end of the night or something, that's what we're providing. We do a lot of upscale weddings in Park City, people who do destination weddings in Park City. We have a lot of different bands and things like that. I also have a company called Skylark Productions. It handles a lot of the audio visual for events. So whether that's video walls, TVs, sound, lighting, we get hired to do a lot of creative and dynamic lighting for events, really light things up a certain way, or if people want certain effects and things like that. So we got a lot of lighting. We do tons of unique and creative entertainment and special effect type of AV. And then we have a couple other niche things, products and companies. We've got a company called Empire Casino Parties, where we put on, faux or pretend casino parties for company events at the end of the, holiday parties and things like that. So, and then I've had some other businesses that have been kind of related and kind of not related that I've sold or no longer do. So that's kind of my specialty, is I'm in the event space and just kind of try to dominate that space. So
I love it. Guys, I think this is such a cool thing because Michael's leaned into an industry that he knows well, and he's leveraging it on every end. If you need somebody to come and, entertain, if you need special lighting, whatever you need, he's got it. And I think it's so cool because all of his companies support each other. They're all in the same industry. They can work together. This is the way you build an empire.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something like, something that I already know a lot about. Excuse me, I kind of got a cough. So
yeah, guys,
if I cough here and there, I apologize. But
he's giving us this time.
Yeah, it's something I have experience in. I'm a musician. I was a music major in college. I kind of got into this space knowing a lot about it, and then of course I've learned along the way. So if you can have a leg up by something you're interested in or that you're already an expert in, that's kind of how you can. I mean, I have a huge competitive advantage to anybody else there's a higher barrier to entry, for anybody who wanted to come and compete with me.
Totally. Michael, can you just tell us, just for, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people who have dreams that listen to this. What was like your first gig that you would consider in this area, like that you actually got? Because most people think they have to kind of start at the top. And from everyone that I know that's successful, they just kind of started with some simple stuff that just kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. I didn't take out a big loan or anything. When I was a music major in college, I was just trying to earn a little extra money. I had no intention necessarily of being in the event or music industry. But I remember I was broke, and just like, I had a little band, a little jazz combo that I would play for events occasionally. I said, this is a good way to make some money, get myself through school. My wife at the time had worked also. And I remember just thinking like, man, I should get some business cards. So I remember it was $30 to go down to Office Depot to get some business cards. And I remember at the time thinking, man, that's a lot of money. I don't really have $30 for it. And but I said, I'm gonna take $30 and I'm gonna do that. And that was like a fairly significant investment at the time. And I never took out any loans. I just grew it and bootstrapped it. And I still have not, we've leveraged some things like money wise, but I've not really taken any big loans for capital. I've just used money that I have and money that I've earned. Right. So you can definitely start from nowhere. It just takes longer. You can get a big loan and you can buy a business that's producing and you're getting cash flow now. There's different ways to do it, but don't be intimidated if you don't have the means or whatever to, jump in and the resources to jump in the way you like. You can get in there and you can work your way in there and build relationships and kind of quickly, get to the point where you're a competitive person in the industry.
I love that. Can you tell me, I think everybody would be interested to hear, was there a point at which you were headed on this journey to become kind of a huge person in the event space, but you thought about giving up or turning back?
Not really. That's not really in my personality. Not that that's a bad personality trait, to reevaluate and say, is this working?
No, but
I will say that I've had a number of failures. I've started a lot of businesses. Some of them didn't work out, but I make decisions pretty quickly. And I decided in all those situations, I decided pretty quickly, this isn't working. I'm not going to waste my time with this anymore. And not like they were huge failures, like I bankrupted me or anything, but hey, I tried, let's start trying this business. There was a little software company and me and a software developer friend of mine were going to start. We kind of got going on it and we planned some things out and we even got the business started. But then we just some things weren't working and they weren't what we expected. And so we bailed on it.
Yeah.
I didn't think much of it. I don't mind failing, but those have been my setbacks. They've not been big, but I've not really ever said, oh, I'm going to give up. It's too much for me. That's not really in the personality, I think, of an entrepreneur.
I love that. I think that's huge. I think, guys, you got to know, like Michael's saying, it's like, if you're committed to this path of, especially of entrepreneurship, you just got to commit. Like eventually you make it. You're going to find obstacles. That's part of the journey. But turning those obstacles into the way is typically how it goes.
Yeah, and not only do you have to kind of commit, like if you really want to dominate a space or be quite successful, you really have to, I'm not saying this is good or bad, but you really kind of have to have an obsessive personality where you're just obsessively working on the business and, hiring people and networking and just, it's like it's kind of all I think about. And that's not a good thing necessarily because I haven't had balance in my life at times. I've learned to balance my life better in recent years, but that is the personality of somebody who kind of becomes very successful. And so, yeah, it's just this drive toward, achieving your goals.
I love that. Michael, as you were ramping up your businesses, at what point was it that you could stop working another job and just fully devote yourself to your companies?
Yeah, good question. So my experience is a little different than maybe some other people's, just because, like I mentioned, I kind of started my main company while I was in college, and it's kind of grown. But I did get a job. Well, I was a business broker for a while, where I sold businesses and things like that. Got a lot of good experience there. And at first, I kind of just let it diminished. But then I said, no, I got a good little business here, booking entertainment. So my brother, I had him manage that, and I gave him kind of a profit sharing type thing. Well, that really started growing, and I did at one point get to the point where I said, I can't be doing both of these things, and I just committed to this. I was also teaching at some music at some universities, and I finally was like, it's too much time.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do hold on to those things too long, though, because they're scared. And I've done that before. And all I can say is, if you're holding on to something that doesn't give you a lot of opportunity, but it gives you a lot of security, if you're feeling this need to let go, but you're just a little scared, that's probably an indication that it's time to let go.
Right.
As long as you can commit to it and stuff, you're not going to really, you're never going to feel like, oh, it's so obvious, that the decision is made for me. If you've waited that long, you've probably waited too long. If you're just like, man, you're probably, you'll be successful if you let go of something that's a little bit secure and take a risk. And the reason you'll be successful is because most people don't do that. And so the people who do usually kind of get ahead.
I'm curious, because you have so many companies and so many things going on. How has relationships played a part in your journey or your businesses?
Well, it's ended up being almost everything. And, we spent a lot of effort in search engine optimization in the past and just marketing and all this kind of stuff. And we and me kind of just thought that was the answer. But in recent years, I've learned that the real answer is in the relationships that you build and in the product that you have. So it's been everything. At this point, I have managers and employees and stuff that kind of run the business. I do get involved, but the business kind of runs itself. Nice. What I spend my time doing, or at least what I try to spend my time doing, is just networking and building relationships. That's with people in the industry, with our clients, with, quite frankly, doing things like this podcast, just, because I've been able to get things off my plate, and some of the things that my employees and manager can do, I have them do it. Right. It allows me to kind of work on my business rather than working in my business. So to directly answer your question, I think building the relationships as a business owner, and if you're wanting to grow, is what you need to be spending your time on, rather than fulfilling orders and stuff that other people can do.
Oh, that is so cool. Guys, this is such a big point. If you're an entrepreneur or anybody else, recognize that when you can get the things in your life automated to the point where other people can run the day-to-day, like we just heard from Michael, you can finally start to work on your business, which most of you thought you were doing the whole time. That's
like everything. Leveraging your time. And once you figure that out, that's when you'll start making real money.
That's my next question. How did your business change after you finally got all the managers and you were able to actually just kind of work on it?
Well, yeah, so when I had kind of made some of those decisions and some of those moves, part of the reasoning was like, I got to get some time. I just working too much. This is like, and there was one period of time I was just working all day, all night long,
Right.
And so it was to get a little time off my plate, but I realized it doesn't really get time off my plate. It allows me to spend my time doing things that I should be doing to grow the business instead of sustaining and fulfilling orders and things like that. So that was the point where I think the business really started taking off a lot, is when I was able to figure out how to leverage my time. It was a weakness of mine and it kind of became a strength of mine. Mm-hmm. I had a really hard time, as a business owner or as a manager or anything, you feel like the way you do things is you do everything the best, and you don't really trust other people to do things. But what you'll learn is that other people can do things just as well as you can, and in some ways better than you can. And once you learn that from experience, you'll realize there's a lot of growth to happen by leveraging your time like that. So that has made all the difference. And it's turned into a strength of mine. So I'm actually pretty good at relinquishing things now. And if more people could do that, they'd make more money. I know a number of people, but there's one person in particular, which I of course wouldn't mention his name. If he ever sees this podcast, I wouldn't want to hurt his feelings, but he's one of the hardest workers I know. But this guy cannot, he's so tight with his money, he can't allow for any expenses. So I've suggested to him that he gets people to work for him to do certain things that he should not be spending his time doing, because his time's more valuable, but he can't do it. He can't hire somebody. He can't spend the money to make his business more efficient, and he will never make more than he's making right now, even though he's doing fine. He's a hard worker, and he just makes what he makes based on the time that he puts into it. And he's a talented guy, but he'll never make very much money. And that is because he can't leverage his time. If he could leverage his time, he'd be making a lot of money.
Guys, I gotta throw out my little amen to this. This is so true. I've had 3 different assistants, and it's like the one I have right now is saving my life. Like, I hope she listens to this, because it's like legit anything that I have going on, that if it's a super crazy busy day and I can just put things onto her plate, that frees up my plate so that I can take care of high level decisions or high level meetings or things like this, getting on my podcast, connecting with Michael, making some value for you guys so that you want to work with either of us. I mean, these are the kind of things that I want to put my time into, building my brand, helping people. It's the stuff that actually makes me feel alive. I'm bringing value to you guys that I think, like, listening to Michael is such a benefit to me. I would normally have to pay for his time. I think most people would. I mean, this guy's got a lot of experience, and he's doing this for your guys' benefit. How can he do it? Because he learned how to leverage time. I think it is such a huge thing, guys. Go get an assistant. Even if you don't feel like you're ready, just to try it out. You're going to fail the first time anyway. Give it a try. Learn how to get it to actually work. And guys, there are so many benefits, because believe me, when you have somebody who's going to work for you 30, 40 hours a week and you're not making a lot of money, suddenly your mindset goes straight to, shoot, I'm paying them to do all these hours. I better actually have something that they're going to do that's actually going to make me money.
Right. I've dealt with that before, those questions. And
now all of a sudden you're like, well, and while they're working, I don't want to be babysitting, so I need to be doing stuff to make money too. And now all of a sudden you're like thinking like, oh, everything I do should be something that actually makes money and that actually makes me better. And then you start to realize things like the relationships and everything else are the things that actually bring in the money. And having a good product and good connections, just like you heard from Michael, that's the recipe. So,
yeah. I mean, people just want to work with their friends. So if you can build a bunch of relationships, build a bunch of friends, that's how you get work. Yeah. I will say that I don't know that there's an exception to this. Anytime I've ever hired somebody, it's resulted in me making more money. So I think if you're just flippantly hiring people without much regard, if they're not wise hiring decisions, then you probably wouldn't. But as long as you make a wise hiring decision and you're somewhat thoughtful about it, if you hire somebody, it's going to result in you making more money. And I tend to make decisions pretty quickly. Right. I don't sit there. A lot of time, one of the things that prevents people from being successful is they just sit on a decision and sit on it. And should I start a business? They think about that for 10 years. Yeah. And I mean, if I want to start a business, I'd probably have it started by the next week. And so anyway, the point is, if I'm thinking maybe I should hire somebody to do this, maybe that would result in more money, whatever the analysis is. I'll think about it, and then I'll try to make a wise hiring decision, but I'll just do it. Right. And then it's done, and the work's being done. And it's not like I've never hired somebody and said, this isn't working, but we've always tweaked it to where it's been able to work. You sound like the kind of guy that's hired quick, fired quick. If it's a bad fit, it's like, hey, look, let's just make a decision, let's get you out. Yeah, but what's funny is I don't know that I did fire somebody once. I mean, so I have a lot of contractors. Nice. And I frequently will decide not to use a contractor or something. If you guys don't know, contractors are a little famous for not always pulling through when you need them to. Yeah, they could be. So with regards to firing people, I've not really fired a lot of people, honestly. Just treat them good, and it's always worked. Now there has been some employees that I've let go just because it wasn't working, but not very often actually. So I'm fortunate that my hiring decisions have been fairly permanent for the most part, with the exception of, like I was saying, contractors. Like I've got, and when I say contractors, that's a legal employment distinction. But people that will work for me regularly, but they're not technically employees. You're hiring them, yeah. Yeah. So but with them, there's been people that hasn't really worked out. I just kind of stopped using them. But I don't fire a lot of people actually. And that's a good thing. But yeah, anyway, the point is I do make decisions quickly, and I'm not afraid to hire somebody to leverage my time, kind of take those risks.
Totally. Michael, I love this. I think it's so cool that you're such a high level performer and that you've built this huge thing. Building huge things takes a lot out of you. Like you were saying, some weeks you were working all day, all night. When
Right.
you're working like crazy, or you really need to kind of get some recovery so you can recharge your battery, is there any super thing that works really well with you that helps you to recharge?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think that's important. So for many years, I didn't do that at all. And it just worked.
Right.
And I worked all day and I worked all night, and then I woke up and worked all day. That's kind of what it felt like. And I can handle it. I don't need a lot of sleep, I guess. I'll sleep when I die, kind of an attitude. But as you get older, that changes a little bit. And then, in years past, my family life had been affected negatively by it. And some of my relationships with people had been affected negatively. And I just didn't have a lot of balance in my life. So I did. I did several years ago decide I want to get really healthy and go to the gym and hit that hard and prioritize that. I want to have that as a priority. I want my family life to be prioritized. And so I do separate time for that. I make that a priority in many ways and set aside time for that. I turn down work opportunities that are kind of for family time. And I found a pretty good balance. I mean, if you ask my wife, she'd probably say I work too much, but I still, I've tried to find that balance. I do think the balance is important. And for everybody's personality is different. Some people are highly motivated naturally. Some people aren't. I'm highly motivated naturally, and that's not good or bad. It's just me. If you're not, then your strategy will be different. Your strategy will be, okay, here's the things I need to get done today, and here's a schedule, and I have to force myself to do these things. I don't have to be forced to work. I wake up and I'm like, I got so much to do, and I jump and work. What I need to be forced to do is to have balance in my life. So I have to allocate time for myself. So
yeah, so it's hard to get that recovery in there. You have to force yourself to take a rest day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I do that occasionally now. I didn't used to do that. Or, your health's important. So I've decided that going to the gym's important. And, I haven't been great about this lately because we've been so busy, but I will try to say, hey, look, this time every day I go to the gym, and I will prioritize that above everything. If somebody wants to hold a meeting during that time, I say, no, right. I have a prior commitment, and that prior commitment is the gym. And, if you're like me, and this is your personality also, you're going to have to prioritize and set aside times for the recovery, for other priorities that you might have in your life. And you have to force yourself to block things off your schedule.
I love that. Can you tell me really quick, and we don't have tons of time here, but I want to know, with your goals, do you just do like whatever's right in front of you, or have you always been like a way out in the future type of goal guy? How do you put together your goals?
Yeah, so I wish I was a little better, like some people are. I wish I was a little better at like writing down a lot of goals, being really good at following up with my goals and stuff. I do have goals. I have some financial goals that are maybe 3 to 5 years out.
Nice.
That are pretty general. And then we kind of get together with my staff and figure out some goals here and there. I wish I was better at that. I'd probably be more successful, probably make more money if I was better at that. But I kind of have this vision of where I want to be, and I just work toward that. So that's kind of my version of having goals.
That's what I was kind of getting a feel for. I think that's it. And I think a lot of people, they see that, but they don't do the action taking like you do. You're quick. Half the time it's like, for guys like you that actually take quick action just immediately, it'd almost take more time to write down the goals.
Well, yeah. Although I will say, I mean, that's right, and I do fine. But like, I will say, if I am probably missing out on some opportunity by not taking some time writing down the goals. Sure. Really every month saying, okay, did I accomplish my goals? I think that's a good thing, and that's just a deficiency that I have. So I might have seen some success and stuff, but I'm seeing it despite the fact that I haven't done that, not because of it.
Sure.
So I would recommend people do that. But I will say this, though. I didn't start achieving some of the, at least financial areas that I wanted to be until I actually decided how much money I want to make or whatever, and said, I'd like to be making this much a year, and actually made that decision. Right. Because once you make the decision, then you can take actions toward that decision. Where a lot of people just sit there and they're like, whatever, I'd like to make more money, but they're not doing anything different. You know, if you want to make more money, you have to do something different than you're currently doing, obviously. And people don't usually do that because they're not very specific about those goals. Totally. So whatever your concept and idea about goal setting is, you should do it.
Do it. Be active in it. So Michael, 2 more questions I want to ask you. First one is, everybody, it seems like, is always learning some sort of lesson in their life. No matter what's going on, they're always learning some sort of big lesson. What's maybe your big lesson that you're learning right now, or maybe just a big lesson that you've learned?
Yeah, that's good question. I think one of the things that I'm trying to learn right now is, and when I say right now, I think maybe over the past year or two, is I've been trying to get a lot better at just being kinder to people. I don't know. I felt earlier in my career, I kind of felt like maybe in order to be a leader or to have some success, I needed to have this certain A-type personality where I ordered people around, bossed them around, was a little bit aggressive, you know, didn't take no crap from nobody, kind of an attitude. And I've sort of learned in recent years that that's not the case at all. You can be very kind to people, you can treat them well, and you can try to build them up, their success up. And that is actually a recipe for success for you. You don't have to have this, you know, you see some people in the media that are successful and they act a certain way. Doesn't mean you have to act that way. A lot of really successful people are humble, they're kind, they treat their employees well. And as a result, because they're trying to build everyone up around them, the people that they're building up want them to be successful. And all of a sudden you have all these people trying to make you successful. So that's kind of one of the things that I've been working on lately, is just to try to kind of focus on other people, build other people up, be kinder to people. And that has resulted favorably in return toward me as I've tried to do that. And obviously I'm happier. You know, at the end of the day, you can end up with a lot of money and have no friends, or you can end up with a lot of money and have friends. And I would rather build relationships throughout this life. That's kind of what the most important thing is.
I think that is so cool. Guys, this is coming from a very experienced guy. So listen to that. But guys, we're going to have all of his links below. Make sure you go check him out. If you want to connect with him, go to his main website. He's got links to all his other companies. If you want to connect with him on LinkedIn,
free to reach out.
Feel free, guys, because he's a great resource. He's doing a lot of cool stuff, and he's got some really great advice. Last question I want to ask you, Michael, before we end this is, if everybody in the world was going to hear this episode, what would your message be to them? What would you want to tell them?
Well, okay, so I kind of understand that the theme, you know, with the podcast and everything is that we're motivating ourselves. We're trying to achieve things, strive for a better life, live a more balanced life, and see some success. So I think my number one, maybe if I could bullet point, we've actually covered them. Build everyone up around you, and connect yourselves with important people, and build everybody up around you. And try to help everyone around you be successful. That will result in success for you. You know, they say that people, in fact, we've talked about a lot of stuff, but that would be the number one thing that I think you could take. They say that people tend to make the same amount of money as their friends and family and just the people they associate with. The reason being is because that's your expectation. You're building the people around you up. They're building you up. You're a support system, and you kind of all grow together. Right. Well, obviously, if you want to break out from the amount of money you're making or the amount of success you're having, however you define that, maybe you don't define that with money, then you're going to have to branch out, network with people that you do want to mirror, build them up, build up your vendors, your customers, and the people you want to work with, your associations. That is kind of the recipe for being successful, in my opinion. Whether or not that's financial or just through your connections, is by building other people up. And there's some great books you can read on the subject. Yeah. But
Which ones do
you know, I mean,
like?
the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is obviously one that is recommended a lot. There's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a lot of books that kind of hit on this a little bit. People sometimes talk about the law of attraction or positivity and stuff like that, the abundance mentality.
Totally.
That, I think, if you were to look at a bunch of successful people and compare it to people who weren't, the successful people are able to leverage their connections, and they get the people that like them are the people, and the people they're building up are successful people.
Right. So good. Michael, dude, thank you so much for your time. Guys,
you're welcome.
Such a cool guy. Can't believe we got him on here. But check out his links below. If you need an event, if you even just want to get a quote, I mean, check him out. He's got so much stuff. Great guy. Hopefully we have him back on here. I mean, he just have so much more to give. I already know. So
yeah, I mean, the best way to get a hold of me if you want to chat or whatever, I'm happy to respond to anybody. Social media DMs and things like that. I'm on social media a lot, so you can hit me there. If you go to my website, michaeltobian.net, there's a contact form there. I would be, I'm pretty actively responding to stuff like that. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I don't check my LinkedIn all that often. I did. That's how we connected, Mike. But so I check it every once in a while. But some of the other social medias like Instagram and stuff are probably the easiest way. So
love it, guys. Hey, Michael, thank you so much, man. Thanks for
being here. Thanks for having me on.